August body as NKCK severe quorum would have been a serious loss. This part of my grandfather's story is an illustration of my previous lecture, License to Live. Apparently my grandfather had brought with him a license to live, which is very different from what his brothers and sisters had brought. Now for his relevance for today's topic, in the year 1937, my elder sister got married, and in one of the rare visits outside his village, my grandfather came to attend that wedding. At that time, my mother was in the family way for the 8th time. He told my mother, "Kanakam, you are going to get a baby boy. Name him after me, call him Srinivasan." He said that according to our tradition, no baby should be given the name of a living grandparent. But you violate that rule. Call him Srinivasan because you are not going to get another chance to do that. Then he went away. A few months passed and the baby was born. It happened to be a boy, and the baby was called Srinivasan. But there are scientists, I'm sure there are some scientists in this hall, they will say, what is the big deal? The child has to be a boy or a girl. It's like a head or tail toss. There's always a 50% chance of the baby being a boy. The old man just took a guess and said it's going to be a boy. What is the big deal about it? But wait, 4 years later, 1941, the 9th child was born, and it turned out to be a girl. So my mother remembered the advice, you won't get another chance to name a boy after me. You say, what is there? This time also a 50% chance of it being a girl. It's a fluke. But wait, another 3 years, 1944, my mother gave birth to the 10th and last child. That also happened to be a girl. So again my mother remembered the advice that name this boy because you are not going to get another chance. Now my scientist friends will say, what is the big deal? On 3 occasions he had been proved right. Azaruddin had called the toss 5 times in a series. But there is a big difference. Azaruddin, before the start of the first test match, if Azaruddin had said, first test match it will be heads, second test match it will be heads, third test match it will be tails, fourth test match it will be tails, fifth test match, that's fine. He every time called, he had a 50% chance every time. But here this old man was saying, you are going to get a boy, you are not going to get a boy again. What are the chances? For the first child being a boy, it's 50%. For the combination of first child being a boy, second child being a girl, 50% or 50%, 25%. Combination of first child being a boy, second child being a girl, third child being a girl, 50% or 50% or 50%, 12.5%. So, my grandfather was actually gambling on 1/8 chance. Azaruddin was gambling 50% chance. But actually, for people who listen to his words, you are not going to get on that. No, I don't think they thought he was banking on probability theory. Something more than probability was at work here. Now, I would like to, I have been talking about my family. I would like to leave my family and then talk about a study made in USA, which is called Irish Twins Study. The closing decades of 19th century and the opening decades of 20th century found a lot of Irishmen flocking to USA. Actually, it's a flood of Irish immigration. Driven by poverty at home and attracted by opportunities in US, hundreds of thousands of Irish men and women made their way into USA. For some peculiar reason, Irish society is one of those societies in which there is a very high incidence of twins. So a lot of twins landed, Irish twins landed in USA. Around 1920, a group of sociologists in USA made announcement over the radio calling for Irish twins to register themselves for a lifelong study. Now there are 2 types of twins, fraternal twins and identical twins. As far as I can understand, fraternal twins are born when two sperms fertilize an egg and it becomes two embryos and two babies are born. They are called fraternal twins. They are just like any two siblings, like a brother or sister or a brother sister. They are not, their sexes need not be the same. One could be a boy, other could be a girl. Their appearance need not be the same. Their physical, mental, psychological qualities need not be the same. They are just like any two siblings. The other category, identical twins, they are formed when one sperm fertilizes the egg, but for some reason it splits into two embryos, two identical embryos, and produces two babies. The two babies are identical in all respects. They are of the same sex, appearance is same, color, physical properties are the same, mental qualities are the same, and even propensity to diseases are the same. These in fact are the characters which you find in Hindi films and Tamil films. You always have films in which identical twins appear, and everybody except the audience is fooled by them. So identical twins represent a very special part of the twins family, and there were a large number of identical twins in the Irish society. So this sociologist registered about 236 cases of identical twins. There was one condition, that one member of the twin should be in USA, the other member should be back in Ireland. So there were 236 cases in which the twin brother or sister was in USA, the counterpart was back in Ireland. They studied their life over their entire lifespan. It was a study lasting a few decades, and very interesting things were found. If the US twin was a dullard and dropped out of school in his 9th standard, it was found that his twin brother in Ireland had also been dullard and dropped out of the school. If the US twin had been interested in music and joined the piano class, her twin sister in Ireland was also interested in music and maybe joined the violin class or whatever. The US twin was interested in mechanical engineering, joined an institute teaching mechanical engineering. His twin brother back in Ireland was also interested in mechanical engineering, and whatever institution was available there he had joined. If the twin brother in USA liked blondes, his brother in Irish twin brother also liked blondes. Now comes the most important discovery. If the brother in USA liked girls having the name Mary and married a Mary, it was found that his counterpart in Ireland had also married a Mary. If the Irish girl had married an Edward, it was found that the US counterpart had also married an Edward. Correlation was not 100% because Edward might not be available in the immediate community of that girl, but extremely high proportion of correlation was there. For example, one might have married Mary, another might not have got a Mary and married Elizabeth. That's an off chance. But somebody might have married a Jane and counterpart might have married Janet. Somebody might have married a Frederick, another might have married a Freddie. Whatever cultural differences are there. But leaving those aside, there was a very high correlation, correspondence in the names of the persons they married. So what does it show? The genes which you bring with you, they not only decide what kind of food you would like, what kind of art you would like, what kind of profession you will take, but also what kind of name you will like. So that means when a baby is given a name, who is the decider? Is it parent who goes about Maneka Gandhi's book and then makes researches and finds out a name? Is he the decider? Or the unseen gene which persuades him to go for a particular name, is that the decider? For example, if Mr. Subramaniam has found a very nice name, Malina, for his granddaughter. It is really, is it Mr. Subramaniam who has found that name? Or maybe the gene has made him find that name, because the preference of the gene is there. The gene is shared by him. Remember that same gene which he has also goes into. So it appears that when we come into this world, we not only bring a life certificate, we also bring our name certificate. So parents and grandparents, all of us assume that we have full freedom to name the children the way we want. But it seems to me that a good part of the decision making is done by the baby itself. Subconsciously. Subconsciously.
It looks like a family tree.
So I started with a question, what is there in a name? There's everything in a name. There could be tragedy behind a name, comedy behind a name, benediction behind a name. There could be history behind a name, there could be geography behind a name. If you explore a name, you are likely to touch a gold mine. So I would like to say, if you ask me what is there in a name, I would say plenty. I am sure I have only reflected on my and my family. I am sure each one of you must have similar instances in your family. But I don't know whether you would like my theory that the babies choose their own names. It's a bit revolutionary, but I leave the thought with you, and thank you for patient listening. When I was in my 20s, like any 20-year-old, I also took an interest in Hero's numerology. I can also, if you give me a name, I can find out the number, lucky number, etc., etc. I think it's all just bosh. All this is, I have no faith in either horoscopes or numerology, though I can myself cast a horoscope. So that's a kind of hobby, not a serious pursuit. Any other question?
I want to share one. In a lighter way. People in the Slovak countries, if you see, their name hardly any vowels are there. NSKY, Ski. So one such fellow went to the eye specialist, wanted to test his eyes which were getting dim. So he started reading. So the doctor said, please read. He says C, K, L. I say, I know that chap, he said.
Incidentally, I have a book by Professor Sethu Pillai. It's called Urum Perum. That gives history behind many hundreds of place names in Tamil Nadu. I am sure there are books like that related to Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, etc., etc. So people think that there is plenty of fascinating material behind place names. My submission is there is a plenty of fascinating material behind individuals' names also. So if you happen to come across books like that, please read them.
I prefer to propose the vote of thanks.
We will take one.